So I'm Venkatesh Balasubramanian, and we'll be talking about a favorite thing. The first slide doesn't change wherever I go talk in the last 12 years. The whole idea is, how do you bring man in management when you have to factor humans in pursuit of excellence that you are heading into. So to quickly tell what I do, so we look for societal problems and or things that are there that could be addressed, and like to go in pursuit of what we essentially look for is improvement in process, product and quality. That's what we do. We kind of developed our own methodology of implementing lean operations that gets applied either in the medical devices, in transportation industry at large, and in public policy to a large extent more recently. What I'll do in today's talk is I'll kind of very briefly touch into the methodology that we evolved, and we talk about capability building and human factors in transportation and in public policy. Again, always there needs to be a continuity. So I just thought we should have that continuity and the framework set. The essence of it, the Industrial 4.0 is largely from World Economic Forum. Any of you, I don't know how many of you watch Republic TV, but if you did watch Republic Summit, and very rare event that happens is Mr. Ambani coming and actually talking in a media's summit. And Mr. Mukesh Ambani spent his entire time talking about this 4.0. Then you can go back and check who is on the board of directors of World Economic Forum. The whole idea of it is that's where the bet is going to be. Most of us who are dependent on people who place bets, they are placing bets on cyber physical systems. So those of us who are going to be chasing the money, so that's where you have to be. That is to set the premise and the context. Now coming back to looking at how do we go attack the whole problem. I think in a conversation here in the morning, we always keep reinventing new things. Those of you who have done some industrial engineering will be very familiar to acronym in industrial engineering called as TLAs. How many of you are familiar about it? Not me. TLAs is? Yes. Everybody needs a 3-letter acronym because that's how you are recognized as something that you did new, and write a book. These two things are essential. So we also have a 3-letter acronym that we are there. But then if you stack up all the business models that are there, from industry, from the Ford's time, and actually the large chunk of Toyota production is actually a copy of what Ford manufacturing system was. But then they did it to a very beautiful level of precision. So a large focus of it was to make sure that the quality is good. Now, those of you who are in industry recognize how good the quality that you produce are. Those of us who are in the academia, we also know the quality of our produce. So I think we are still in the ground level in terms of getting the quality focus and moving forward. In the West, things have slowly migrated towards system focus. We would want to say that we need to go to a sustainability focus that actually takes care of the entire pyramid. You don't build a pyramid by building the summit. You need to build the base forward. So, summary of it, the soil management system that we use, and the TLA is there for you, is very simple. A big chunk, at least what we recognize in business at large, is not about coming up with great ideas, but it is about selecting that one idea that you can bet on and take it forward towards towards exploitation, so to speak. So all organizations kind of do the same thing, but this as picking up of an idea is one of the challenges that people miss. And people miss about looking at the train. And the train has 3 destinations at large. One is to make sure that you meet a current need. A majority of us are actually in the current market demand mode rather than a future market demand. a good thing that you can find is the moment you are out of recession, everybody is busy trying to buy land or recruit people, which is more of meeting a current demand and then not planning for future demand or things of that sort. So that is, in a nutshell, the soil management system. Because we have paucity of time, we'll just pick up a couple of stories that are there. We will go on the different stories till we have time. The first story that I wanted to pick, because there's a mixture of academia and industry, something that we were in, I was involved for a very long time as a young faculty. I started being part of it, is how do we build leaders for the country. It is not after Make in India was made, but after Make in India was made, this was made as the leadership development part of the Make in India part. The idea, the whole idea is you have organizations have a vertical split from the C types all the way to the real value add guys who are there on the line who make the value add. But a large chunk of organizations are dependent on this external supplier system. And how do we leverage these suppliers? So how do we build capabilities so that all of them talk across both the vertical as well as the horizontal aspects that needs to be there? So we built variety of program. It was called Visionary Leaders for Manufacturing. So I was very happy to say that I was involved as one of the co-founders of it and stayed as a chairman till recently, a couple of years back when other things got too busy for me. But what we did find is with some of the organizations which were there, one of the constant itch that was there is the real cream layer where the value add goes into junior management. How do you build capabilities for tomorrow? Because if you're building capability here, he doesn't know how to leverage this, or you build capability here and they don't know how to leverage the available talent, both of them are disastrous. So how do we build organizations? So we built one for an automotive company where we looked at how do we sensitize the top management to leverage the technical assets and develop technical assets. That's the essence of what we built for this automotive group that we were looking at. So variety of things. So I was very excited to see one of IIT Madras alumni when he was talking about very similar lines that we kind of do. The whole essence of transformation is a mindset change. That's the whole idea of the SMS, right? So we would want to get this mindset change. We have a methodology by which we can go about bringing that mindset change. Then you need to build skill, and then the skill has to convert into practice. Can this whole thing be given as one training, so to speak, and build capability? So that was a challenge that we picked up. And with this group, we started, as a joke, it was there. Somebody asked me to check if we can do something after some great Japanese experts had finished developing some stuff. We went and found another almost about 1,300 points for improvement could be done in the same place, and we brought up productivity not by 5%, 10%. We were looking at productivity in 70%, 100% because. So after that, more recently, we don't touch places where we have to do 5%, 10%. We look at only total disruption of processes and other things. So the idea is, as a teacher, we would not want to solve problems, but build capability. So we pick a dozen guys, and these are the kind of number of people who actually eventually graduate from the program. And as part of the program, they solve variety of problems in various different avenues. And one thing that across the spectrum that was found was disruptions do pay. There were a lot of things that were there. So one such, I'll just give us a couple of examples from that. This is a very interesting thing in a German collaboration plant of that group. There was this place where, I don't know how many of you are from the air conditioning business, but the whole idea of assembling a bunch of small aluminum foils called as the fins, and then putting together and making sure that the whole testing process as well as the assembly happened together. So as part of the work, the whole thing was made into one common fixture. That common fixture cost about $1.5 lakh. and that obviated a purchase of a large automation machine for about 3 or 4 crores, for which order was about to be placed. I mean, the PO was, I think, released and then they held back. But it also dropped the manpower by 50%, increased productivity by a very large number. But more importantly, it was so agile that any future design that any OEM is going to come up with, they can actually assemble it. So the joke that I used to tell as part of the product is, if a customer comes and says, this is my requirement, by the time the customer goes and has a lunch, the customer can be given a sample and he can go back with a sample to his plant. So that's the kind of stuff that was made. So there's a variety of sequence of steps. I'll skip that one. The second one is about a company which was largely drifted into a seat manufacturer who had seat manufacturing in the automotive business, if you're there, is largely a commodity thing. How we can take a commodity stuff into a product stuff is when they picked up some of our concepts and they started making this thing.
Everything today, there is one along with a zero. And together, as digital data, they offer endless possibilities. Today, these combinations of ones and zeros have the power to understand consumers better, streamline humanitarian missions, and even set up governments. This power of ones and zeros is called Internet of Things, or IoT. IoT has changed the very way people work across industries. When it comes to the transportation sector, though, we realize that this revolution had not yet touched its most human aspect, driving. Drivers, being a global workforce, are present in every single industry worldwide. So we explored how technology can help reduce the effects of human errors while driving. Our extensive research in driver performance identified that long hours of driving and fatigue take a significant toll on the output of your business. And that is why we are employing the possibilities of IoT to revolutionize the driving workforce. Presenting Harita's IntelliSeat, the world's first driver seats to ever use IoT, developed in association with the Rehabilitation Bioengineering Group of IIT Madras. To the naked eye, IntelliSeat looks like any other driver's seat. The difference is in the array of embedded smart sensors that monitors even the slightest movements of the driver. IntelliSeat senses 3 things. First, it detects the presence of a driver on the seat. Second, the smart sensors enable the identification of the sitting behavior of the driver. And most importantly, the IntelliSeat detects fatigue. The data based on the driver's sitting behavior, movement, and gestures is processed to detect fatigue. IntelliSeat even classifies fatigue based on severity and notifies you accordingly. For mild fatigue, IntelliSeat notifies the driver through a visual aid, an LED indicator on the driver's dashboard. The second stage is moderate fatigue, where an audio notification is triggered along with the LED indicator. The final and critical stage is severe fatigue. In this case, IntelliSeat triggers a tactile notification using vibrations. This is in addition to the visual and audio aids and ensures that the severity of the situation is conveyed to the driver as well as the fleet owner. So right from the moment when the vehicle's ignition is turned on, IntelliSeat oversees the driver's sitting behavior, helping them with timely notifications and suggestions. And for a fleet owner, it is easy to track and monitor the driver's performance in real time through a specially designed mobile app. The data is recorded as well and can be accessed at any point in time by the fleet owner. Manufactured with Harita's expertise in seating solutions, IntelliSeat can be installed in all heavy motor vehicles, both passenger and goods. IntelliSeat helps you plan your trips, make better decisions, and reduce unnecessary expenses. Using IoT, IntelliSeat not only makes your work stress-free, but also opens up a world of new age possibilities for your business.
So, that was just a IoT-based seat that was there. But going forward, we kind of now have a system by which it can also monitor the health and also kind of detect a lot of other features which have applications all the way from happiness to security. Probably both of them lead to each other. On the third story that I'll briefly share from our lab is about how conceptual one can go into a public policy and how disruptions can be brought about. We work on transportation related. We have a large chunk of death in Tamil Nadu. We are probably the leaders. We were the leaders. We probably, we've got a good intervention. So we went about saying that, the Intelli seat comes somewhere here where we kind of bring, and then there are a variety of things that can actually decrease the occurrence rate. But how do we increase the survival rate? How do you go about bringing in at the time of the crash and post time of crash? So we developed a couple of programs. One is called the Tamil Nadu Accident and Emergency Care Initiative, and the other one is the accident reporting, transportation accident reporting app, which can be used for this thing. So I'll just quickly tell. So how a simple thing or the societal demand of a very large chunk of accident and we turn it into a goal of we would want to achieve 0 deaths from road accidents. How do we go about doing it? Of course, we've been doing a large chunk of work with vehicle related stuff. So we built a couple of systems, one that was for the healthcare, the other one that spans across the police and the highways. How do you intervene? These systems are in play, so I'll just share a couple of thoughts about it. So the Thai part was that the state had, every hospital has an emergency care. So in Delhi, if you are in near AIMS, there is Jayaprakash Narayan Accident Trauma Research Center. It has a budget of about 200 crores. The entire state of Tamil Nadu, for all its medical education, has a budget of 199 crores. So that is the scale difference. Now, how do we disrupt with very less money and come up with a program that's much better than a program that is very well funded if you were to compete? But we choose not to compete with AIMS, but we choose to compete with the Western world, so to speak, or anywhere in the planet. So over a period of time, we kind of looking at a data-driven implementation, develop programs, develop people, develop the capability, develop systems across the spectrum. We have a variety of things that came about. But the most important thing is, I probably don't have the slide here, but we could now drop the number of people dead from road traffic accidents by about 26% in the past year, the immediate past year. That's the ranking has not come from MOT, but we expect that we still are not the leaders. But we report 100%. The other thing that we work with the police is, majority of the time, convictions don't happen, but the most important conviction that we need to have is not convicting somebody who creates an accident, to make sure that we don't have a recurrence of the event, so to speak. So we created a process disruption which includes a very simple lab-based system which also has a geographic tag as well as monitoring of the entire highways and what happens as a program and connect it with CCTNS, so that the cops that are going to be involved in actual data collection and the investigations are different, and the investigations are going to be significantly better. At least we are seeing in the districts where we are piloting it that interventions are happening much faster, because earlier there were no facts. It was largely opinion driven. So we kind of look at it as a fact driven process in which we kind of go about doing it. So with that, I would like to thank a variety of people who had made us do whatever we do. Thanks to all of them, and thank you for listening. And at least we have one alumni from IIT Madras, so he probably is very familiar to this place, the Gajendra Circle. And you have questions and more details, you are always welcome to chat with me. Thank you.